So let me start with these questions. When you drive, do you put on a seatbelt? Do you look both ways before going off in the traffic, or do you just dive off into traffic and hope everything is going to be all right? All of us have been to funerals. I would assume, and believe I would assume correctly. Well, we all know we're going to die. Death is around the corner. It can happen any moment. It's a fact that mathematically the majority of existence will occur after you die. So much more of existence will occur after you die that your time here on earth is mathematically non-existent, or infinitesimally small, infinitely small. So it's almost like we're all walking towards a cliff. Some people are closer to the cliff, some people are further away from this cliff, and we're all blindfolded or blind. That's symbolic for you don't know when you're going to die. You could die tomorrow, you could die next year, you could die in 20 years, but you know you're going to die. Some people may be right at the edge of the cliff and they don't know. Another person may have a nice walk in front of them but no matter what, you're all going off the edge of the cliff. You've seen people go off the edge of cliffs, you had ceremonies for them, so going off the edge of the cliff is set. People talk about religious delusion, but one delusion that we know for sure has to be a delusion is the delusion that people seem to not care about the fact that we're walking towards a cliff. If we all are walking towards a cliff and you don't know how close you are, I mean, it's like if I were to walk towards that wall and I'm blindfolded, if I didn't know how far I am from the wall, I'm going to put my hands up naturally. When bumping into the wall, I mean, it's not that big a big deal. I mean, okay, if I were to just walk full speed into the wall, maybe I'll hurt my nose, bloody my nose, whatever. But it's not that big of a deal. It's not like I can't just put a tissue in my nose and go on about my day and my life and everything be the same. So why is it that you will put your hands up to protect yourself from walking into a dry wall? But when it comes down to walking off the edge of a cliff, you could be any moment about to drop off and you don't know, but people don't seem to care. They seem to focus on other things. And if someone says, wait, those people just went off the edge of a cliff. Yeah. So I notice as people are walking this direction, we're all going on the edge of the cliff. Yeah. And this is like a conveyor belt. It's not like you can't stop and go the other way. I mean, you can run the other way, but the conveyor belt is always going to go faster than you. So even if you're running full blast in the opposite direction, that's symbolic for doing everything you can. Eating healthy, being careful with everything you do, putting seatbelts on when you drive, not touching the metal prongs. If you're in construction, putting a sniffer in the tank before you jump in the tank, looking both ways before diving into traffic. That's like running full on in the opposite direction. But you know, even if you run full on, the best you're probably going to do is 120, and you're going to be off the edge of the cliff. So we know that this is like a conveyor belt for time. Time is like a conveyor belt. You can't stop it. We're heading towards the edge of this cliff, and no one seems to care. That is a delusion. And if you bring it up, hey, we're all off the edge of the cliff. Oh, why don't you talk about something more positive? More positive. Really? This is the most important event of my existence. Well, I think nothing happens. Okay, would you just not look both ways and go into traffic off the thought of, well, I think we'll be all right. I don't think anything will happen. Okay, you could get hit by a Mack truck. Are you serious? Try living your life like that. I mean, try if you're in some type of engineering going into a tank and you don't know what gas is in there. Oh, I think I'll be all right. Well, that's not as important as eternity. I mean, whatever happens, we know for a fact that it's infinitely more important than what's happening here, because whatever happens here is for a short period of time. Whatever happens there is eternity. I mean, forever and ever and ever and ever. It makes perfect sense to, while I'm here, make an effort to figure out what's going to happen. I mean, you put a seatbelt on before you drive. You look both ways before going to traffic, but then you dive headlong into eternity with the thought of, I think I'll be all right. We'll see what happens when it happens. That is, I'm sorry. If you look at it logically and you're open-minded and humble, it's more important than anything going on in my life. Everything in your life, you preserve yourself. You will not walk towards a wall blindfolded without putting your hands up. That's why people are afraid of the dark. It's an an instinct, because you don't know if there's a giant hole that you could fall into in the dark. You don't know if there's a lion in the dark. You don't know if there's a madman in there with a gun in the dark. You don't know what's there in the dark. Or you don't know if there's a corner of a table you'll stub your toe or jab your side into. You don't know. All you know is that you don't know, and not knowing is enough to be afraid. It's the reason why when you're rushing to work, you don't go flying down the stairs head on like you can fly and run head first into the ground, because you're afraid. It's the reason why you don't just floor it in your car the entire way, not even raising off pedal to the metal the whole way, because you're afraid. That fear is helpful. It helps you be smart. So we know we're going to die. So we need to think about what's going to happen when we die.